Dave, age 36
formal.
and 226 days. Now he's not like a young 36. He's an old 36. Let's go to this Twitter poll I posted. I got Schrager's got it pulled up here for those of you watching on YouTube. Which running back are you prioritizing on waivers? Adrian Peterson, Boston Scott, Carlos Hyde, and people knew who I was talking about, but I put an extra T on Jarrett Patterson. Only one T on him, but Peterson, Scott, Hyde, and Patterson. And Peterson with a pretty narrow win over Boston Scott. What is your answer to this Twitter poll? Which running back are you prioritizing on waivers?
I'm going to say Peterson. And if you've got the number one waiver claim, it makes sense to get him because you know what the potential is of him in the Tennessee offense. They're not going to try and change what they do. They're going to certainly use Jeremy McNichols a little bit more in the offense. Vrabel kind of hinted at it at his press conference on Monday that, there are a lot of teams in this league that use multiple running backs. So they're going to do that there. But Peterson is suited to replace Derrick Henry in terms of a running downs guy who's physical, who can dish out some physicality, make the defense a little bit more worn out, and then hopefully give the Titans some success in play action. So I get why they're signing Peterson, and I get why people in the fantasy universe want to get Adrian Peterson. They know the name. They're thinking, oh, he's going to step into Derrick Henry's role. He's going to be great. The only area where I hesitate on Peterson is spending a ton of fab on him. We'll talk about it on the show. I'm not going to spend a lot of fab on him. I'd much rather put in the same amount of fab on Peterson and Boston Scott with the hopes of getting one of them on the cheap. And if I do get Scott, then I know that I've got to make some plans long-term at running back. But for this week, I don't know. I might end up liking Scott a little bit more than Peterson.
I have zero interest in adding Adrian Peterson. I don't care if I miss out on. I don't want any part of a 36-year-old running back behind a bad offensive line that Derrick Henry made look much better than it is. I just let somebody else get him. I honestly, I'd rather get McNichols just to see what happens there.
Interesting. I completely get it, but
I don't know how to feel. I really like Adrian Peterson. First two games of last year, he got off to a hot start. 14 carries for 93 yards, then 7 carries for 41 yards, and then the last 14 games he averaged 3.5 yards per carry.
He's 36 and hasn't played it down yet this season. I mean, let somebody else take that. That you don't want that. Let somebody else in your league be the sucker and go get Adrian Peterson because he might be stepping into a good role. I just don't see it. I don't see it at all. I'd rather I'll take the fall for somebody else beating me with Adrian Peterson on their team. I just don't want to have him, especially for what he's going to cost, because he is going to cost. Dave's right. You shouldn't spend a lot of fab on him. That's definitely something I agree with. And if you want to just see what happens, take a chance on McNichols. Maybe he's better.
Would you put McNichols ahead of Boston Scott?
No, Boston Scott is the only running back that I would be prioritizing this week, to be honest with you, because I don't want Carlos Hyde. I don't want Peterson. This is one of those where I wouldn't burn a waiver claim on a running back. There are people that are going to be desperate. Obviously, every league is losing Derrick Henry. So, I mean, you should obviously try and pick up Peterson if it's not going to cost you much, just to see.
If you, for example, hold on. If you have the waivers repeat every week in a league, in a lot of leagues, this is how it works. So it's not like once you've got the number one claim, once you use it, you're at the bottom until you work your way back up to the top.
They reset every week.
In that type of a format, are you using that top claim on Adrian Peterson?
No.
If you're 3 and 5,
probably
need a
not.
running back?
No, I would. I guess if I'm 3 and 5 and I need somebody to fill a hole, yes. But I hope they make a move before the day is out. I just don't. This to me is not the answer. I'd like to see them find somebody, some way. Go get somebody. Mike Boone. Go get him off of the Broncos roster. Go get one of the 49ers guys. Like 36-year-old running back is not the answer for me.
Yeah, but it's hard to find a guy who could be a starter for 8 more games, or 9 more, 8 more games in our fantasy season. So, yeah,
especially somebody
be aggressive in trade.
Especially
a fantasy manager.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave. Especially
the coaching staff sees Adrian Peterson as an old replica of Derrick Henry. I'm positive that's why they brought him in, is because he's physical and that they can use him on those running downs, and they're trying to squeeze out 10 to 12 games or maybe just 10. And then Derrick Henry, maybe he comes back in time for the playoffs. This is a team where if they go 500 the rest of the way, they're winning the division. Right. They're going to have a home playoff game. And I'm sure that's what their focus is right now, is just do what it takes to win the South and then hopefully have Derrick Henry back for the playoffs.
I wouldn't be surprised if he has a couple of good games early, because that's, like you said, Adam, last year he got off to a good start. We've seen this when he's been rested over the last couple of seasons. He's had good moments. Good luck taking on the Rams defense that just got Von Miller in Los Angeles in your first game. So we'll see how he does there. I just don't want any part of it. I think by the time we get 2-3 weeks in, he's not going to be a fantasy relevant option. Again, come at me if I'm wrong. I'm perfectly fine with that. I just don't see it for a 36-year-old guy.
Okay. And it's just that there's so many carries. I mean, like 28 carries a game. That obviously they're going to throw the ball more. You'd have to think. But
I don't know. I think if they can get away in a game without throwing it more, they'll do it.
I don't know how well, then they're going to have to run fewer plays. I mean, they can't run the ball as frequently.
No way. Of course, Adam. They're gonna change to some capacity. It may be 10% different, 15% different, 30% different. They're gonna change their offense in some capacity because they have to. Nobody is Derrick Henry. Adrian Peterson at 36 is not Derrick Henry. Emmitt Smith in his prime might not be Derrick Henry. That's how good this guy has been. He's been an absolute superstar over the last 2+ seasons. And so, do they have somebody to fill that role? No. So what do? You lean on your strengths. What's the strength of your team right now? It's AJ Brown. It's hopefully Julio Jones. It's Ryan Tannehill. So I don't know. You want to trust your team to a guy coming off the street who couldn't get a sniff of a job opportunity at 36 years old and say he's going to be the difference maker? Okay, good luck, Mike Vrabel.